Welcome to today's conversation where myself and Coach will be tackling a subject that affects all of us, finding balance in life and reducing stress. We know how quickly life can feel overwhelming and how easy it is to get caught up in the pressures of work, family, and personal goals. But what if there were ways to create more space in your life for calm, focus, and clarity? That's what we're here to explore. We'll dive into what we've learned over the years through both personal and professional experiences about how to create a more balanced life. We'll share ideas that can help you rethink how you approach your relationships, daily routines, and overall well-being, with the goal of leaving today's conversation with practical steps that can help you reduce stress and improve your quality of life. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here to improve your life, what I would like for you to do is click that like button, right? So if you're here to improve your life, you're here to learn more about how to de-stress your life and have a little bit more balance in your life, share that joker too. All right. With that being said, Coach, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. At our age, sometimes people will say, you know what, man, that joker is set in his ways. That joker know exactly how he want to do things, blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of times us older folks say, you know what? Yes, because I work better with my routine. And me personally, my life is a lot better when I have some sort of routine, when I have a schedule. I know what's going on. So, with that being said, the first question of the night is this: what are some key habits or routine that you've adopted that have helped you maintain a sense of calm, even when life feels chaotic?
Great question as we start off this conversation about balance, right? First and foremost, you and I, we share a history of being in the military, being in the army. And back then, I used to wake up 4:30 every morning. And after I wake up, I would get my coffee. I would look at CNN. And then by 5 o'clock, I'm headed out the door because I'm going to the gym. So that was the beginning of my daily routine then. Well, after I retired, I decided to kind of maintain that routine to a certain degree. So instead of hitting the gym these days, I hit the studies. So there is a degree of reading, meditation, and sometimes prayer that takes place in the morning for me, right around that 4:30 or 5 o'clock time frame, and it allows me to maintain a sense of calm throughout the day because no one is contacting me at that time of day, and if they dare consider contacting me between the hours of 4:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning, it's they're just gonna get ignored. That's all it is. I don't even respond for the most part to anybody who would text me at that time of morning. But most people don't, just out of respect and common courtesy, and I greatly appreciate that. And so that's one of the reasons why I continue to maintain that. The other side of it, I would also look at is the concept of chaotic. Sometimes, in most cases, the chaos is more internal than it is external. So if I start my day off the way that I do in a sort of meditative slash educational state, then it allows me to look at things and not unnecessarily identify it as being chaotic, just identify it as being a thing. And then if for whatever reason I want to identify it as being chaotic, then I need to be able to define the why. So going back and saying it for the third time, some type of meditative study prayer thing that takes place in the morning between 4:30 and 7 o'clock for me, and then throughout the day being a um, objective observer of reality. So don't look at things according to how I feel, right? Look at things according to how they are and preserve the feelings after I identify what it is. And then if the feeling hits, I always try to analyze the feeling before I assign it to the thing. And that's another thing that, happens within me. Now, don't get me wrong, the first part has to happen for me before the second part can be consistently exercised. Because if I don't have that meditative prayer slash study thing that happens in the morning, then at the end of the day, my day doesn't start off right. And then I be in a sense of what we call, I could be unbalanced, right? And so in being unbalanced, when life starts happening, then, I may get filled with emotions. I may start assigning emotions to a thing. So that's what makes the first part important. The first part sets the conditions for the second part to happen. And with that being said, now I can look at a thing and say, it is what it is. Can I change it? Nope. Did I start it? Nope. It's not yours to own. Or if I can change, if I can't change the thing, I change how I feel about the thing. Or if the thing is within my scope to adjust and it lines up with what I know is right and wrong, and I'm in error, then I change me as it pertains to that thing. So I know it's kind of long winded, but again, those two pieces are important for me to maintain balance. Me getting that time, one on one, prayer, meditation, studying, so that I can regulate my emotions throughout the day.
I think you did a good job. I don't think you were long-winded. I think the time that you use to take is what is the amount of time that it needs to take to get through what you need to get through. I got a lot out of that. Um, it seems like now it seems like you went as the mindset coach. What you did is you went to the mind. You went on focusing on the mind and pretty much like clearing the mind and inputting and prayer and meditation and different things like that. I'm gonna, and I think you did a very good job of doing that too. And if people ain't tuning in, if you ain't like this or share this by now, you missing out. Like you should get your notepad because I'm about to drop a bomb on y'all too. I'm about to go to the other side of it. I'm about to go to the physical side of it, right? So, and my habit or routine that I have adopted is to build resilience and build resilience by doing something hard or doing something that I don't want to do on a daily or a consistent basis, right? So when you get up in the morning at 3 o'clock when you don't want to do it, and then you go run or you go work out or you you put some pressure or you stress the body out, right? In a certain way physically, like some sort of workout, right? So now you've done something extremely hard, and say for instance, at the same time while you were stressing your body out, you threw on a headphone or a podcast or you listening to an audio book. Now you getting back to what coach was talking about. Now you're feeding the mind. You get in the mind, you're learning it, you're teaching it, you're putting information in there that can be used at a later date to help you when chaos and when life happens, because it's going to happens to all of us. It's been happening since the day we was born. It's going to happen to the day we die. We're always going to see chaos. It's just part of being a human being. But back to the physical part, when you do something hard like that and you're working out and you're doing something like that and you're putting information into your brain, that creates a certain level of stress on yourself. And then as you go throughout the day, you can build upon that. You can look back, and when something happens, you're like, man, I got up and ran 6 miles this morning. I got up and worked out this morning, and I was feeding my brain and what I was listening to, and I was praying or I was meditating or whatever. I was listening to some calming music, and now I'm at peace when I come to work. So I walk in the door, I'm at peace. You know what I mean? I got up early enough to where I've taken care of myself. I take care of my body. I got me some food. You know what I mean? I might have got me a protein shake or something. Now I'm driving to work and I still may be meditating or listen to some music or something like that to get me in the mindset. So when I walk in that building, when I walk into that chaos, because a lot of us work around chaotic people or in chaotic situations. So why not set yourself up in the morning so when you walk into it, you're a little bit more prepared to deal with the chaos. So for me, I have adopted the habit of stressing myself out in the morning, doing something hard. So nothing else I do throughout the day is going to be as hard as what I've already done.
Yeah, that was definitely good. And again, it kind of lines up going back to where I started from. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
lines up with what our military career looked like. First thing in the
Yeah.
morning, we hit the road. We're doing PT,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a scientific fact that once you work up a sweat in the morning, like your day improves. Like it kind of
Yeah.
it gets the right juices flowing, it gets,
Mm-hmm.
all of those great things to where you start being more efficient. Now, for me, I can't say that this happens for you.
Yeah.
When I used to do that
Yeah.
after lunch,
Yeah.
it was a window. That window had me doing the neck rotation at my desk, but I was
Yeah.
like, man, I'm
Yeah.
ready to take a nap. But once I got past that hurdle, it was probably like
Yeah.
1 hour. But once I got past that hurdle, I was good to go. And what I would do is
Yeah.
just get up and walk around and start talking to people and
Yeah.
match my sleepiness through the conversations that I would have.
Mm-hmm.
But these are routines that we develop so that we can be in the right headspace going throughout the day. And again, like I love the fact that you say we do tend to work with some people that are chaotic.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to let you impose your chaos on me. You keep that over
Absolutely.
there. So yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
Um, as we move along, man, we're talking about balance. We're talking about, we both have a lot of things going on. We're both fathers, we both have jobs, we have careers, we have kids, we have grandkids, you know what I'm saying? We have a lot of different things going on in our life, and one of the things that we've heard for a long time is, there's mind and there's body and there's soul, you know what I mean? But it's like, okay, well, do I focus on my mind like you talked about in the morning, talking about waking up and focus on your mind? I talked about waking up and talking about working on the physical body. So someone out there could be looking at this like, okay, well, which one should I focus on? Right? That's not for us to decide, right? So, but as we get into this question, how do you decide what areas of your life need most attention when things feel out of balance?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it the way that you said it. For those people who are listening, that's not for us to decide for you. And my answer is probably going to kind of paint the picture of why, because it kind of sounds like it's reflective in the way I decide what areas need the most attention in my life. I don't decide. I listen. I listen. I pay attention. See, I think a lot of times like we conflate, and this is not against you or the question whatsoever as I'm saying this. I want everybody to understand it. I know that you already know that.
Hmm.
I think a lot of times we feel that we have to decide everything, and everything that requires a decision is another decision that I got to make. And so we get in the habit of I need to decide this, I need to decide that, I need to decide this, I need to decide that. No, you don't. Right? Here's why I say that decide means to cut off all of the options. So if I decide what to focus on, right? Do I focus on my mind or do I focus on my body? Well, I don't decide to focus on my mind or body. I decide to focus on my mind and body because it is a unit. They work together. So at the end of the day, I listen to this thing here because I never stop working on this. That's me. This is always a work in progress for me. And so I have a specific time frame set aside. But this right here would tell me, and I'm not talking about my heart, I'm just talking about my body in general. Hey man, you forgetting about me. Remember me? Yeah, me. I need some help. So your body will speak to you, and it's not always speaking to you when you're redlining. It's not always speaking to you when you're about to crash. No, it gives you a warning when it's been neglected way up here. What ends up happening is that we neglect the warning, we neglect the signs. Like this thing right here speaks loud and clear. It remembers every trauma that you've ever been through. It tells you when it's fearful. It tells you when it's uncomfortable. It tells you when you're in danger. It tells you, it's constantly speaking to you. So, what we have to do is become very good at listening to it. We don't have to be subject to it. We just need to listen to it because that helps me to understand when I need to do some things to help it so that it could, because we can talk about resiliency. And I love the fact you went there because I think that's key. But here's the thing resiliency does not manifest itself here. It begins to manifest itself here. It manifests itself here because this is the action of this. So, whatever goes on here, it manifests the actions through these. So, you hear it like if you approach a person in the wrong manner and stress them out or whatever the case may be, these might show up. They might put them hands on you. So you don't want them paused. So that's what I'm saying. You have to understand that that's how this works. So I try to keep this sharp so that this can talk to me about this. Because as long as this is talking to me about this, then even in my, and I don't want to use the word lazy because I don't think I'm lazy at all. I would say even in the state, and I think everybody has this, even in the state I'm in when I am intentionally doing nothing, there is one day a week where I don't do anything. It is intentional. Well, I can't say I don't do anything, but I do very little as I possibly can. And that may start at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock p.m. That's the day that I do less. And I tell you those days are Saturdays because college football is long. But even in those days where my mind is telling me, so, oh, you lazy bum, you're not doing nothing today. Like, we got so much work we got to do. Like, come on, man. Like, because that's the routine I get in. But this thing said, oh, it feels so good just to chillax sometimes. It's all right. We'll get there. And I know sometimes they can fight against one another, but there is a balance that has to take place between my mental health and my physical health. And if I'm not pursuing that balance, then that's a problem that I create for myself. Like, imagine if I did absolutely no physical activity whatsoever for the next 5 years, and all I did is read books. I'd be a very smart dude. I'd be a very fat dude. I would be a dude that is very, like, I would walk from the house to the mailbox and probably be breathing heavy by the time I get there. That's just on the light side of it. Like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, all of those things tend to factor in. So at the end of the day, you want to be a fully functional machine. Like, I commend you on the whole marathon thing. And I keep mentioning it because it's impressive. I like the fact that you're doing it. Right. I'm going to live vicariously through your stories. Just I'm being transparent. But I also told you, I'm not going to do that. Right. And it's not shooting against you by me saying that. It's just that I know for a fact I don't want to do it. Right. No disrespect to anybody who does. Now, I do a lot of other stuff as well. You know, I do little small workouts. I spend a lot of time like going to the field with the lieutenants. I go to the ranges and things of that nature. So those are physical activities. It's easy for me to get 10,000 steps in a day. So balance in that particular aspect for me does not have to be a decision. It has to be worked in constantly throughout my day-to-day existence. And I need to listen closely to the information that is coming to me from here and here in relation to this question.
I like all of that. And I like how you made everything connect. I thought that I was going to have something that was going to contradict. And I kind of had a scenario, but then the more you talked and the more I thought about it, it ended up coming back to lining exactly up with what you said. So then I had to think about another talking point. So the other talking point was to talk about balance in areas that may be out of balance, but it's not with the mind and the body. It's maybe more laterally, like let's say for instance, let's talk about relationships, right? So we got relationships, we got jobs, and give me something else that's lateral real quick if you can think of something.
Relationships, jobs, and let's say mental, spiritual health.
Yeah, let's do mental health. All right. So we got all these three different things right here. So we got relationships, we got jobs, and we got mental health, right? All of these things for most people, if you have a job, whether you work inside of the home or work outside of the home. So I'm talking about those women that may work from home. Like some people think that because they stay at home mom or stay at home wife that they don't do nothing. No, they work too. Guarantee you they work. So that's a job too. So you're talking about relationships, jobs, and mental health, right? So in these areas, how do I decide which one needs more attention when they're out of balance, right? So I kind of want you to talk about it a little bit, but I want to start it. And then I want you to kind of jump in and kind of get your thoughts about it. So when I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at my relationships, I look at my job and I look at my mental, I go back to the most important thing, and that's my vision. Like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Right. So, based off of my purpose and how everything lines up, which one of these things is most important? For me, my priority in this situation is what's out of balance. Is the first thing I need to do is I need to get my mental right. That's the first thing that I need to do. And then after that, I need to make sure that my relationship is on point. Right. And then after that, it may be my job. Right. So I'm not saying necessarily me or you, but I think when you look at this, which one is out of order? Um which one is not purpose? Which one is not part of your purpose? Which one is not part of your life? Which one is not part of how you're supposed to be living your life? And I think that's where you start to look at which one you start focusing on or giving the most attention to. Now, the thing about that is whatever you give the most attention to, I don't think that you can neglect the other two at the same time. Right. So this is where the balance piece comes in. Right. So maybe right now, and I need to really get my mental on. So I need to focus about 50% of my time focus on trying to get better mentally, right? And then I may take, 30% work on my job, right? What's going on in my job? Why am I stressed out about work? Maybe I need to come home at a decent hour. Maybe I need to input some boundaries, stop staying so late, and then with my relationship, what in my relationship is broken? I give 20% to that. But it may shift over time. Now you may fast forward a week or two or some time, and relationships on point, the job's on point, the mental's on point. Now you may be able to shift and not necessarily focus as much on your mentals. Not to say that you neglect it, but you may not need to spend 3 hours in meditation every day. You know what I mean? At some point, you should build a certain level of tolerance, not tolerance, but you should get to a point to where you don't necessarily quote unquote need all of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's my kind of thoughts about navigating, balance when it comes to giving what most attention when things kind of feel out of balance. But I would like for you to kind of, you know, poke around it a little bit and see what you got.
I was listening, and first and foremost, I don't disagree with nothing you said. I'm gonna start there because I think you're spot on. I think we've had a conversation similar to this prior to when we talked about priorities. And
Yeah.
as you were talking, that's what came to mind initially. And then as you started talking it out, what I started hearing you talk about was priorities, right? I'm like, yeah. But then I was like, but does my mental health ever reduce? Does it ever like lessen on the priority? So then it can't be priority. And then I realized this is our relationships.
Mm.
Those three things you name are relationships: relationship, career, and mental. Just humor me for a second. I'm gonna try to make it make sense. This is
Okay.
our relationship. So if my mental health is at question, then what I'm talking about is relationship with the Father and myself, therefore revealing a positive and healthy relationship with myself. Therefore, I am calm, I'm serene, I'm able to make good decisions. I have a set of core principles that guide my life. So my first relationship is in order and it's intact. External relationships should flourish because of that relationship. My career should be in its proper place because I know how to develop, develop, nurture, and maintain relationships at work, because that's really what your career is all about. Sure, it's all about you doing a particular task that came along with the job, but do the task and can't get along with the people, you won't stay at the job long. Do the task and don't, work well with your supervisor, your supervisor's going to relieve you. So in essence, as I'm listening to this, this is all like relationship. Having a good relationship that equates to ultimately a good relationship with self, a good relationship with others, and a good relationship with, and I don't want to say with the world, but those external stakeholders that feed into the primary thing that I'm working on, which is ultimately my family.
Man, I appreciate you adding a little bit more log onto the fire.
Yeah,
I
man.
feel good, man. I appreciate it. That's why I wanted to hear what else you had, man. Another thing that we do is let's be honest, expectation management, even when it comes to ourselves. You know, you talked about running a marathon. That ain't, you know, that ain't on your list of things to do. You know what I mean? There are certain things that I don't want to do. There's certain things that I expect out of the relationship and certain things I don't expect. You know, so in what ways have you learned to manage expectations from yourself and others to keep stress at bay?
This is going to sound very similar. This is definitely based upon priorities.
Mhm.
And you just said it. You know, it hadn't made my bucket list, and if it
Yeah.
ain't in my bucket list, that means it's on the other list. You know what I'm saying? It kind of rhymes with
Yep.
bucket. So
Yeah.
that's the key. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, we have to have priorities in our life. Our priorities, my priorities, are governed by a set of principles that I extract from the Bible. And again, for people who don't believe, that's fine. I'm not saying that you should, or not, nor am I saying that something is wrong if you don't. I'm just saying that that's how my life is situated and set up. And so those principles help me to define what is priority in my life. And from there, that also helps me to do expectation management for me first. And I think that's important. Um, doesn't say, and the beautiful part about the principles, it doesn't say that running a marathon is wrong. It doesn't say that entering into a bodybuilding competition is wrong. It does not say being a soccer dad is wrong. It does not say any of those things are wrong. It just says that we do things decently and in order. And so those things that I tend to do are based upon the things that I prioritize as, you know, one, two, and three. And again, those one, two, or three, they're determined by the things that I'm called to do. So the things that I'm called to do and who I'm called to serve, those become the priority that I devote a lot of my time to. So a lot of the things that I do lead up to those things, right? That also means that I don't get a lot of time to do these other things over here. So I don't get the chance to live my best life by traveling the world and seeing all this and seeing all that, whatever. Not saying that anybody's wrong for doing it. I'm just saying that based upon the way my life is set up and my priorities, I don't get that time to do it. Not even saying that I want to do it, because what I found is I find joy in doing this right here, sitting here with my brother, talking with him to you guys. I find joy in that. This doesn't feel like work at all. This is
Yeah.
enjoyable. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of like how it works for me. So when it comes down to learning how to manage expectations, I had to learn to put principle over personality, my personality, right? My personal reality, me. Once I learned to put principle over personal reality, and I go back to the book I've mentioned previously, Principles by Ray Dalio. Very good read, but it took me to read something like that, you know, some years ago before I realized that principles matter, right? Everything that I do, every decision that I make should be governed by some type of principle, because that gives my decision meaning. And then ultimately, the outcome of that decision should be fruitful and it serves somebody other than myself. So that's kind of like where I'm going to go with it. Principles, priority, prioritization based upon principles help me to manage expectations from myself and others and keep stress at bay.
I appreciate that. Coach just gave y'all the clean version. I'm about to put a little pee in the pool. All right. So on my side of it, here's how I learned to manage expectations. I'm not going to necessarily focus on myself a little bit that much. I'm gonna focus on others. So here's how I look at people sometimes. When I am driving in my car, everybody else on the road is a moron. Right. So that's how I manage my expectations. Eventually, somebody's going to cut me off. Eventually, somebody's going to flip me off. Somebody's going to flash their headlights at me. Somebody's not going to stop at a red light. Somebody's going to do something while I am driving. So, like I said, I focus. That's how I get by with things. I use self-talk. You know, I talk about certain things that may or not be true, but in that moment, it helps me to get through. I manage my expectation by thinking that a lot of people that I have conversation with is dumb. So when they start saying stupid stuff to me, I just be like, whatever, whatever. I told you, coach, I was gonna throw a little pee in the pool. Also, I think it's something wrong with people. You know, for the most part, I get along with people, but sometimes people just don't want to talk right. Sometimes people don't want to act right. Sometimes people have attitudes, and you know what? I ain't going to deal with it. So I've learned to manage some of my expectations by thinking that not everybody, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm on the show with coach. I'm in good company. I don't think that there are going to be where there ain't no issues or anything with us. So I don't have to do that with him, you know. But a lot of people and some people that I come in contact with, you know, to help me just manage expectations and not to expect too much of people. You know, I've been around for 48 years. I ran into so many different types of people from so many times, from so many different walks of life. I've been stabbed in the back. I've been cussed out. I've been ignored, you know, all of these different things. And you know what? I've learned that every time I have been hurt, it have been hurt from another person. So I've learned that people will always hurt you. This is just part of it. It doesn't mean that this has to become your entire life, but just saying that people will always hurt you. So I manage my expectations, and people that I think may hurt me, I don't deal with them. Somebody I think that may rob from me, I don't deal with them. The guy who looks suspicious, I'm just being funny. The guy who looks suspicious at the corner, you know what I mean? I manage my expectation. I'm going the other way. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you don't have to look a certain way. It's just suspicious to me, you know. So it's just I've learned to manage myself with people just sometimes just not expecting much more. You know, I've learned that people are selfish, you know, people are stingy, you know, people don't always want to help. People don't always want to support. You know, thank y'all for supporting y'all being here. You know, I mean, you guys are some loyal people here. We see y'all every single week. You know what I'm saying? So I've just learned that, you know, some people are just not good people. So I tend to good, bad, or indifferent approach people with caution and manage my expectations and not necessarily expect too much from people when I first meet them. Because like I said, a lot of times where every time I've been hurt, it's been hurt by a person. So
Yeah, I agree. Um, as it comes to expectations of other people, and I don't know what it was, man. I think I don't know when it was. Um, at one point in time, I kind of coined a phrase, and I don't know where that phrase came from, and I just kept using it and kept using it and kept using it, and then it just kind of changed over time. And that phrase back then was expectations was the prerequisites of disappointment. And so the reason why I coined that phrase is because I was reminding myself not to expect anything from anyone else other than myself.
mm-hmm.
And that was what that phrase morphed into. I don't expect anything from anyone else but myself, but I appreciate everything that anyone else does. And I think when I started doing that, um, it made things a whole lot easier. It made
Yeah.
things a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I don't mean it for me. I mean it for the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was me putting less stress on someone else because now they're not subject to my expectation.
Yeah.
And if they're not subject to my expectation, now I don't have to worry about being disappointed. And if I don't have to worry about the expectation, I don't have to worry about the disappointment, then the relationship can still exist. So even if it would have been nice for a person to do a thing and they didn't do a thing, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Does that still affect the relationship? It's human nature. It has to. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's just what it is. I would not if 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 it was a perfect world and a perfect scenario, sure. I don't call people as best I possibly can and ask for a whole lot. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I call you and ask you for something, trust and believe I need it. And by me calling you, this is pretty much the last hurrah for me. But at some point, it's something in me that says that if I don't have strong enough connections to where I can pick up the phone and say, hey, bro, I need blah, 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 then I also have that cutoff. And the cutoff ain't necessarily with you. The cutoff is with the thing that I needed it for. Because now I got to figure out, because again, that's just, I'm real big on personal responsibility. So why do I need this extra phone when at the end of the day, do I really need an extra phone or did I really just want an extra phone? And I'm being very lighthearted when I use this phone as an example. But at the end of the day, I think we do that a lot. I think a lot of things that we believe are needs are not really needs. They're just ultimately wants that we feel strongly about. So why do I feel strongly about that particular one? And of course, this pertains to things. Now let's change the dynamics and let's change the dynamics to those priorities I was talking about, right? What if I had a need in relation to the people that I really love and care about? Now that is a diehard need. That is a potential relationship changer, because these are the people I know, love, and care about. If I ever call on you because of these people, then in my mind, somehow you care about me enough for the sake of this to continue. So I think that's the thing for me, because I'm agreeing with you. You can be disappointed by the activity or inactivity of people, because if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be that one that would bend over backward because I want my brother to succeed. I want my sister to succeed. I want whoever to succeed. Right. And I know, I think I know you enough to say this for you, because it remains to be true for me. I want to see everybody win.
Yeah.
I want to see everybody eat. But at the end of the day, we have this competitive nature to where we feel as though, well, I got to get mine. And me. But did Garfield get some? Yeah, I don't know. You got to go talk to him. But why didn't you? You're eating right now. Why didn't you go talk to him? That's the thing that blows my mind. And I don't get that. I can't get that for the life of me. Like, for me, my sense of community is like through the roof. I really want to see people get up out their seat and go check on somebody else. But because, I got lights, I got food in my refrigerator, I got a little extra money in the bank, my bills are paid, I'm good. What about somebody else? Don't worry about it. Ain't nobody told me nothing. Bro, like, come on. Like it has to be that thing that stirs up deep within, right? It has to happen here, because I can do this. I can do this right here all day long. But if it doesn't happen here, it just ain't gonna happen for that person.
Yeah, managing expectations is something that I had to learn, especially from other people. I remember, early on in this YouTube journey and stuff like that. I remember, I'd bought some merch from some people. Usually anything that my friends or associates, somebody I know, if they're selling something, I'll buy it. Yeah, I bought people's books, I ain't read them. I done bought people's clothes, ain't worn. But I know it's supporting them. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't about the money for me. It's about the support that I'm offering somebody else. Like you said, some of us are willing to do whatever, break our back for people. And I know this particular person, I bought something from them three separate times. And this person has yet to buy anything from me. And it's like, back in the day, I would have had a huge issue with that. But now I'm just like, it's, oh well, like it's their money. It ain't my money. I don't get to pocket watch them and try to explain or try to justify, well, I bought something from them, so they should buy something from me. No, it's not like that. I didn't buy it from these people so they could eventually buy something from me. I bought it to support. However, sometimes if you are one of those people and you're an entrepreneur, you understand how it is. So you, if anybody, I think sometimes should support. However, I don't expect that from anybody. I learned a little expectation management, and I know that if I buy something from Coach, I'm buying it because I want them. And when I sell something, whether he buys it or not, I could care less. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So that's my little add to 2 cents to that, man. And we probably didn't beat it down enough. So the chat part, like, y'all move on. So we're gonna move on for y'all. Shoot, we had 45. Let me go. Here we go. All right, so let's move. Here we go. What do you think is the biggest factor that causes imbalance in people's lives? and how can they regain control?
Um, I think the biggest factor has to be psychological instability. Um, and then someplace in a very close second has to be emotional instability. So between psychological and emotional instability, that causes a huge problem in people's lives. Um, not necessarily knowing, not necessarily having an idea, having a knowledge base to support balance. And so you strive for imbalance. Like you hear us talk about from time to time that if conflict doesn't happen in some people's lives, then they create conflict. Well, that's
Mm.
kind of like the imbalance that we're talking about. But why does that person create conflict? Well, because someplace in their life they felt that they were good at conflict. But if everything is good, why create conflict? Well, that's the psychological imbalance that I'm talking about, right? The Some people like to call it chemical imbalance. I don't necessarily believe it's a chemical thing. I think it's a processing thing. But then the emotional imbalances, like I said, is run a close second. Again, a lot of us want things, don't necessarily know why we want it. We just want it because we see other people got it. And because we look at what other people have, we want that thing. And therefore, we have a strong yearning for this thing. And then when we get this thing, it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with it now. It's like, I don't know how to nurture it. I don't know how to take care of it. But you didn't necessarily do the pre work that was necessary for you. So once you obtain the thing that you say that you wanted, now it just become another hunk of junk that you toss in the corner. I am talking about relationship. My bad. I just want to make sure I put that out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when we look at these things, it all has to be with the disconnect between here and here, right? My and you hear me talk about it from time to time, and you probably heard it since we mentioned it almost like in every show, PME, psychological, mental, and emotional. That to me is the thing, because what I think, what I have going on in the background in the software psychologically affects what happens in the um I'm sorry, what I have going on in the on the yeah, the operating system, that's what I want to call it. What I have going on in the operating system psychologically, it affects what's going on in the software mentally. And then that equates to the output emotionally. And because there's imbalance between all three of them, they're not synced. They're not operating like the the operating system somehow is not necessarily supporting the hard drive. And then the hard drive, I mean, not the hard drive, the software. And then the software kind of got a bug in it every now and then. And then ultimately, I lash out. And because there's an imbalance between that flow of information, then every relationship that I encounter is either superficial or non existent. I know that person, but I don't necessarily know them. I know of them. I have a relationship with that person. Yeah. What do you know about them? They're married. Okay, cool. What else? What do they like to do? What are they? What are the spouse's name? The kid's name? Like stuff like that. I don't know. But you have very superficial information. Very superficial relationship. You can't say that you're in a relationship when you don't know nothing about the person. And
Hmm.
then again, it has to go a step beyond. Like, what do they do for a hobby? Like, what do they like to do? What do they do in their spare time? Like, if you don't get the if you haven't taken the time to know the person, you don't have a good relationship with them, right? And we get so comfortable in what is superficial because that's the norm. That's part of the imbalance that I'm talking about. Like when I was growing up, I don't know how it was for you. When I was growing up, and I'm not saying that they did it right, but what I'm saying is that people knew people. You could pick up, they could pick up the phone and call down the street and say, "You see my son? Yeah, he down here with me." Well, how you know that's me? Because we know everybody on the in the neighborhood. This is another community conversation. I'm sorry, right? So the psychological, mental, and emotional aspects of people to me is one thing, and that one thing has a lot of inconsistencies and imbalances within it. And what we have to do is do the necessary work to fix the operating system, get a new download for the software, and then get to the point to where the throughput, the information that we're putting out in space, is healthy enough to reflect creating, developing, nurturing, and maintaining great relationships.
If I say not working on themselves, would I be, in a sense, starting to regurgitate some of your own talking points?
If you say not working on themselves,
Is the biggest
Mhm.
factor.
Maybe, but I think that's a different perspective, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because
Well,
yeah, I think you may speak at something totally different than what I did.
okay. All right. So, with that being said, because like I said, I didn't want to step on. I was like, man, I don't want to have the same thing. Because I got this perspective is not working on themselves causes imbalance. I think that, as people, we've always talked about being consistent, and continue to work on yourself and continuing to grow to be a better person, because when you're a better person, you become a better person for your relationship. You become a better person with your relationship with your kids, with your spouse, with your parents. You know what I mean? You're a better person on the job. You know what I mean? So um you're just a better you, and you can learn a lot. So I think that when people don't do that, it can cause an imbalance in a lot of different things because they're not working on themselves. They're not working on their mind, right? They don't have structure. They don't have discipline. So when you don't have structure, when you don't have discipline, you're all over the place. There's no balance again because your mind is in balance, right? You're over here and you're thinking about this, you got this going on, you don't prioritize anything. You just like you wake up at the last minute, you run out of the house, and you're putting your shoes on and you're doing your makeup in your car and you're stopping at Starbucks real fast, and then you're heading into work and you finish doing your hair in work and tying your shoes, and you finally punch in, and then all of a sudden it's time to work, you know? And all of that is because there's some imbalance going on in your life. There's no structure, there's no discipline going on. And that's why your life can be, referring to another word, chaotic, right? So I think that once you people start, and this is how can they regain control piece. I think that when you start to be intentional about working on yourself, say this is what I want to work on. Start doing self-assessment. Start looking at yourself and say, what do I need to work on? Well, a lot of times we don't even know we need to work on because there's no information in our head to to um to to give a different perspective. I guess I want to say that. You know what I'm saying? So if I only know how to do it this way, but I've never seen it or heard it a different way, then I don't know any other way or any other perspective how to do something. So I think that one of the biggest factors is people just don't work on themselves. And the way that they can gain control and create more balance is to regain control of the mind, of the mind, of the mind, of the mindset, and regain control of that again. So and work and continue to work on themselves. So what do you think?
I told you had a different perspective.
Okay.
Yep, I love it. I agree. Um, that drives a lot. I know we
Yeah.
don't. I know we don't. We don't necessarily like hearing certain things that make us feel uncomfortable. But you know what? I think just the version of you know shying away from that which is uncomfortable is part of the reason why we're in imbalance, because
Mhm.
we don't necessarily realize that that which comes that makes me uncomfortable is destined to make me grow out of the thing that's
Mhm.
uncomfortable. So growth is found in the discomforts of your comfort zone. So get out of that comfort zone so that you can create a new one.
Yeah. Hey, folks, we got about 7 minutes here. We're going to wrap up on time today only because I got something to do. So I'm just wanting to let y'all know y'all finally going to be able to get out of here on time tonight. All right. So with that being said, we're not going to do any true, false, or multiple choice, but we are going to jump on a couple of these scenario questions and let's see what we kind of got to say about this. So we're going to start off with the love scenario, right? So
False.
here's the first love scenario. You said false. There you go. False. Love life. You've noticed that your relationship has been strained due to constant external pressures, leaving you both stressed and disconnected. How do you approach this issue and create space for reconnection?
Inside out.
Inside out? Ooh,
Inside out. Yes.
explain. We don't
So
know what that mean, coach.
so first thing first, each person needs to work on themselves inside out, then they work on their relationship inside out. What does that mean? That means I need to find peace, harmony, and balance within me first. She needs to find peace, you know, harmony and balance within her. As we're coming together, we're trying to harmonize together and see what that looks like, especially if they're married. If they're married, they're supposed to be one anyway. So if that's the case, then they have to come to the point of being to the point of harmonizing not only their understanding of relationship, but their expression of relationship as well. External pressures, the best part about external pressures is that they're external. Cut them off. Cut them off. Cut them off until you're ready to deal with them again. I don't care if they're friends. I don't care if they're family members. If you're married, they're no longer primary. Mamas, daddies, we love y'all. But when it comes down to your child being married, you're not a primary decision maker in their marriage. You are marriage. You are an advisor. That is all. How they raise their kids is how they raise their kids. You don't get a vote. You get some advice, but at the end of the day, even if they go against your advice, if you participate in that child's life, their decision was their decision, and you don't get to do anything outside of it. These are some of the external pressures that they get. I'm telling you the truth. So cut them off until we come to an understanding, and then they come to an understanding with us, or vice versa. But at the end of the day, it's external. It ain't that big of a deal to me. Cut it off.
Yeah, I get that. I guess the only thing I would add to that is, while you both working on yourself, maybe carve off some time and some space where you guys connect on a physical level. You know what I mean? Maybe, the cheese, even the cheesy stuff. You know what I mean? People clown the cheesy stuff like picnics and holding hands and walks and stuff like that. But those are some of the best things you can do because it's just y'all two. You're not distracted by being on a zip line or being on a roller coaster or sitting there quietly watching a movie in the theater. When you do those things like picnics and holding hands and walks and stuff like that, you don't have anything but each other. You know what I mean? So you're forced to learn more about each other. And the more you learn about each other while you're working on yourself individually, the more y'all just going to learn. And hopefully what should happen is you guys should grow closer together. That's my 2 cents. Where's this other one at? Here we go. What's next? Fitness and wellness. Nah, let's go to social life. Yeah, I like this one. Social life. Let's do this one. Social life coach. You've been saying yes to every social event. That's some of y'all out there. Yes, yes, yes. But now you're starting to feel worn out and stressed by the lack of time for yourself. How do you balance staying connected with others while keeping your own peace of mind?
You don't. You keep your own peace of mind, then you connect with others. That's the issue. Like
but coach, everybody ain't there, bro. Everybody ain't there.
I get it. I get it. Like I said, it don't feel good, but it doesn't mean it ain't good. You create, you allow peace to consume your mind. Then once peace enters your mind, then you connect with others. Because as long as you have a imbalance in peace of mind, if you have an imbalance when it comes to you, if you have a disorganized sense of relationship, then what ends up happening, like you feel the need to say yes every time somebody asks you. Therefore, now the problem that they have now becomes your problem. That, I use I had just had a conversation earlier today. Friends out of town. Hey, would you mind go over to our house and let the dogs out the house? You said yes. So now that is a responsibility that you have. You got to go to their house. You got to drive 20 minutes on the other side of town. Go let their dogs out the house. You got to deal, because it's 2 of them and they ain't little dogs. So you got to let both of those dogs out the house. Let me tell you something. You know anything about a dog? Dog has pent up energy. So they want to run around. So they're not just going to go and use the bathroom and come right back and get in their cage. No, you're going to have to coerce them to get back in their cages eventually. So that's now a responsibility to you. When no was a complete answer that should not have caused any issue. The reason I start off with peace of mind, because people pleasing is a problem. If you don't have peace, than you feel like you need to do in order for people to like. Did that dude just show up there? Was he there the whole time?
He been there the whole time.
I didn't see him.
Mm-hmm.
I just became aware of him. But yes, if you don't have peace, then you feel a need to do for people to like you. Well, first and foremost, that's the issue that we have in this world. We move at the speed of like. So I don't have to say yes to everything. I can say no and be content in the no that I gave you and feel no remorse for it, because the yes would have placed another responsibility on me. So achieve peace first, then connect with others if it's within the will that you have in their will as well. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's good not to have a vast connection of people. Sometimes you need to kind of look at the connections that you have.
Man, I agree. That's why I joke up there saying no. Just say no. Like sometimes you gotta say no, man. And no is so. I remember when I first started saying no, I felt bad. Now I look for opportunities to say no. Ask me something. What? Text. Oh,
Hey, I've been practicing. Hey, I've been practicing no before I even knew what it meant.
Read my text. Somebody asked for some money. Nope. Nope. Just two letters. Yeah, I mean, that's the N word that people should be saying right there. Be honest.
I see what you did there, sir. Yes, sir. I
like
agree.
That. Hey, with that being said, man, we are at the bittersweet moment, like Coach said. It's time for us to get up out of here. We have really enjoyed being here this evening. I really enjoyed the conversation, man. I really appreciate you for making a great conversation, because it wouldn't have been a conversation without you. So I really appreciate you. Appreciate the chat for chiming in, being here with us this evening, man. You got anything to say to close us out?
No, man, I agree with everything you said. Great conversation. Definitely appreciate all your insights. I got my notes here that I quoted from you. I thoroughly enjoy these. I think they're good. I hope people are getting a lot out of this. If you're not, and you're not entertaining going further in your own development, I question whether or not you're getting a lot out of this. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just transparent. Like, if you're hearing what we're saying and you're not saying, you know what, I might want to go further with this, then I'm wondering what version of what we're saying you're listening to.
That part. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. See you guys next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, check us out Friday night on the Hearts of Men podcast. Check us out on Saturday. Check us out on Sunday. All those different things like that. So feel free to reach out to us at any time if you want to connect with either one of us. And with that being said, we are out.